Now, I understand you have a federal grant to study this Honouliuli.
Yes, we've been very fortunate. Our congressional delegation has been very supportive of our efforts to preserve Honouliuli, and eventually we would like to see that site be part of the National Park Service, but that's, you know, a few years down the road, but we're, you know, our staff and volunteers are working very hard to see that come through. But we have many supporters in the community, you know, the landowners, Monsanto and West Oahu College, University of Hawaii, West Oahu College.
So they have allowed you access to this area?
Yes, yes, and have we've received grants to do archaeological research. So 2 archaeologists did come out and actually clear the area along with our volunteers, which included their staff and some of our board of directors. They also went out there and helped clear the land, and it's amazing what they actually found. They found slabs of the old, like the mess hall and maybe the admin building, and so now they can really pinpoint where these different structures were. There's one standing structure still, and one of our volunteers, Lorraine Palumbo, she's an architect, and she's helping us to restore that standing structure.
I remember I went to one event there, and there were some survivors of that area.
Yes, and we're very sad to say we just lost Mr. Urata Sensei. He was one that actually came on our pilgrimage, which is the first time we took a group of people, including 2 of the internees, to Honouliuli and had a ceremony out there, then came back to the Cultural Center and had an informational summit with Jeff Burton and Mary Farrell, who are the archaeologists, giving us an update on you know, the progress that was being made on that site, and then representatives from Monsanto, and then the National Park Service too, the local regional director, Frank Hayes. He's also very supportive of our efforts.
Well, that's great. So this is being funded by a federal grant, not by your membership dues.
Exactly, a federal grant, yeah, it's important to know.
Well, this is of interest to me because well, I'm a little reluctant to tell the story, but I was an internee on the mainland. My parents were in San Francisco at the time, so we had the pleasure of residing at Tanfran Racetrack in a horse stall for several months in 1942.
A horse stall.
So fortunately, or unfortunately, maybe it'd be nice to preserve it, but on the other hand, it is now a shopping center, and a very nice one. So the memories have gone, but I understand 65 babies were born at Tanfran Racetrack during the internment period. About 8,000 Japanese Americans and Japanese nationals went through the area in maybe 6 months or so. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know, what other events do you have at the Cultural Center that the public would be interested in?
Again, our main, largest festival being the New Year's Ohana Festival is in January, and then coming in February, another event that has now become one of our regular events is the Day of Remembrance. And let's see, the first commemoration of the Day of Remembrance, and that's to remember when Executive Order 9066, that was the internees, that order, to make sure that things like that don't happen again. That was our first pilgrimage was in 2007, or the first pilgrimage. We were hoping to have another pilgrimage maybe in 2011, but last year we held a Day of Remembrance ceremony event at the University of Hawaii, and we had breakout sessions with former internees telling their story about their experiences as internees, and we also had one of our exhibits called Dark Clouds Over Paradise on display there. And then coming up in February of 2010 will be our third Day of Remembrance, and that's entitled Liberties and Cultures Suppressed but Revived. And so we'll have some panelists talking about their experiences with their cultural organizations that may have had to disband, but because of the war, and then but were again reinstated when things settle down a bit. And then we'll have lots of breakout sessions where people can experience. It's almost kind of like a bunka no hi. Bunka is culture, so a cultural day.
Well,
so we'll have that in February.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I know we observe it all the time in the legislature because it's so many of us are of Japanese ancestry, and we don't want to see it happen again to any other ethnic group. So it's good to relive history and make sure it's not repeated, however.
Exactly. And then usually, again, our Kodomo no Hi celebration in May or sometimes in April. And then something else that we have that's very interesting to many people is our Shichigo-san observation. And in Japanese, Shichigo-san literally means 753. And it's a rite of passage for children ages 7, 5, and 3, where they just dress up in kimono. And in Japan, they would go to Meiji Jingu or a nearby temple and be blessed, and in all their kimono finery. And here in Hawaii, we recreate that. There are several other locations that do that.
Do you rent the kimono, or do you have to own one?
You pay a fee, and Masako Formals actually does the kimono dressing, and we have a professional photographer that takes their photo. But the other nice thing is we have the Reverend Daya Amano from Izumo Taisha, who goes or one of his priests or reverends, they bless not only the child or the children, but the entire family, the house. If you have a pet, I mean, they'll bless everything. And then you can buy omamori there too. And we also
what is
omamori? Omamori is a little talisman, I guess would be a translation, which will allow you to it allows protection for your car, for your pet, for studies, to make you better in studies, and you can buy different types of omamori.
Wow, I could use one of those.
You got to come in November. And we also, this past November, tried something new, and we had one of the tea schools, Ura Senke, do a tea demonstration right in the same area where we're having the kimono dressing and the blessing. And so people were able to, because sometimes it's a lengthy wait, and because people like to get there early, and they can actually experience a tea ceremony, a shortened version of one, because they can be quite lengthy too if you wanted to go through the full ceremony. And so the sensei were kind enough to do a shortened version for them so they could actually taste the matcha, the green tea, and get a taste of what a ceremony is like.
My mother used to enjoy that, and I never had the patience for a tea ceremony. I could not even sit on my legs that long. So in the modern day, do they sit in chairs, or do you still have to sit on the floor?
Still sit on the floor. But for this particular occasion, we had chairs set up so that people could sit in the chairs, and the sensei would just serve them, do a short demonstration and then serve them the tea.
I'm glad it's abbreviated now, but we're so used to doing things in a hurry these days in the modern world. And it might be a good idea to get your blood pressure down and go through a tea ceremony. It must be a very shibui experience.
Well, I think the tea schools are realizing that there are some people who would like the benefits of the matcha, but not have the time to go through a whole ceremony.
Matcha is tea?
No, it's that green tea, that special kind of
It's kind of bitter
and frothy. And I think there's different types of matcha, but the one that they use in the tea ceremony, there's thicker ones and a little thinner ones, but it's usually whipped.
It was a powder, as I recall.
And then it's whipped with a special whisk.
Bamboo whisk.
And it's quite thick and frothy and a little bitter, and that's why you balance it out with some of the candies or mochi.
That's right.
It's sweet.
The Japanese goodies. That was what made it worthwhile.
Yes, exactly.